Good morning. How are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. That's what I used to say when I was younger. I said that all the time before I got into recovery. And then when I started getting caught saying it in AA meetings or NA meetings, they'd say, that means freaking insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Come up with something real. And I always thought that was so funny. But you know which word I'm replacing. Most people don't want to know how you really are. Most people don't want to know how I really are. That's for sure. But I will tell you that I'm working on my intensity, not being so intense it's been a very long, interesting, I'd say 5 years since this, maybe 6, since this whole COVID thing. And then the whole Biden thing, the whole Trump thing. Honestly, it's been very interesting. I quit hanging around some people because they thought I was a Trumper, and I stood my ground and said I didn't want to talk about it. And then I got confronted one time, almost like an intervention. We were playing, they showed me how to play some dice game. It was so fun. We were having so much fun. And then one of the ladies leaned back in and went like this, and she said, "So are you MAGA or not?" Like, I felt threatened, pressured. And so I started crying, and eventually, after some dialogue, I left because I said that I grew up where you didn't have to talk about religion, money, or politics, and that I certainly didn't feel like sharing my politics, because if I were going to share it, it would be about the math. It wouldn't be about the emotion. It wouldn't have been about just the orange man or the sleepy man. You know, I don't care if someone falls asleep in meetings as long as they're doing their job. Show me the money. I don't care what color somebody is, even if it's orange. If they're doing their job, just show me the money. And I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, people want certain things done, but they do not want the process, right? So I helped do they call them a riff. These in the military sometimes call it a BRAC or an AFSO. I don't remember what those letters stand for. I didn't do it very long, and it wasn't my expertise, but I was pretty good at it. But they wanted this warehouse to move more fluidly. They just felt like it was taking too long to do a bunch of stuff. The people who were working there were not getting along, not well anyway. And actually, I was one of them. So I was honored to be on the team. Well, by the time we got done with the flow chart alone, just how the products came in the building and went out of the building, it made a lot of people uncomfortable. Where the break area was, made a lot of people uncomfortable. You know, one of the complaints was nobody gets a real break. Well, then when we said, okay, here's an option for a break room where you'll be less apt to be disturbed. Well, I'm not going way over there. right? So people don't like the process, but once they got used to the new flow, it worked pretty good, right? They were getting these emergency orders. They called them red balls back then. But the label printer for the items was in the back of the warehouse instead of up by the phone where you're taking the order, or to be able to see the order. They had it in the back, right? Oh, it was just like, why would you put a machine that could print out a red ball in the back of the, where if that one person who might be sitting back there when they're not actively working, what if they took the day off, they went to the bathroom, what if they were in a deep conversation trying to figure something out, that red ball would be sitting there on the printer. So when they move things around, it took a little while, but people suffered. And that was only moving around a warehouse, let alone, the changes that were being made. That I think what happened was, if people vote something in and they don't see things happening, they get really disappointed. And then if they see things happening, but it's happening too fast, you see people disgruntled. It's very interesting. Now, it's not just in politics. That's my point. It's also in families. It's in family dynamics. Yes, all that to get here. This is how big of a deal it is, though. When someone's in... I love having something tasty in the morning. Okay, where was I? So, when someone comes into recovery or to counseling and they start changing their attitude and behaviors for the better, there are sometimes tensions that arise because other people are now being treated differently. And they don't know what to do with different. Even if it's better, they don't know what to do with different. Especially when the changes happen quickly. Because some changes do happen quickly. Like, oh man, I'll bet there's probably very large percentage. I haven't figured out the percentage. I haven't really thought about it till just now. But what I do know is that there are some people who say, that is such a good idea, let's do it. Whatever it costs, let's do it. Meaning cost effective, right? We wouldn't do the change if it weren't cost effective. They see it, they recognize it, and they're like, I'm on board, let's go. Let's go, let's do it. Do it. And then there are other people who are like, it's different personalities. They're a little timid. They're like, are you sure that's going to work? I don't know. And there are other people who they just are in such a habit of complaining or not believing something can be good or whatever their thing is. But if there's change, they're still going to complain. You know what I mean? They just can't help it. They have to be able to complain. And they will fight for the right to complain. And no, it's not fair to expect someone to forgive someone overnight. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about extreme behaviors. You don't have to trust the sleepy one to turn things around just because he had a great speech. You can say, wow, that looked good. Let's see what happens. You don't have to trust the orange one to not be, I don't know, a dictator on day one. If they, sometimes you got to build trust. And then sometimes you have to look at, are we still changing words in the dictionary to meet our needs, or are we looking at things fairly? And if you are, then yeah, things start getting scary. I get it. And I get that sometimes it's hard when someone comes home and starts saying, look, I'm sorry I did that. I lost my patience. Let me calm down. Instead of defending their behaviors and saying, I didn't do that. Or saying, here's a narcissistic side, I apologized. I thought this was over. Why can't you move on? Some people are like that. You know that. Let me find some eyeliner. I'm going to use this one. So, what I'm saying is, if you're the one who's doing the changing and someone's not being patient with you or keeps acting as if you're not trying, if you're truly trying, yeah, sometimes it gets discouraging. But here's the thing. If you can make it between you and your higher power, you and your God, let go of the politics of the family. Let go of the politics of the world. Just for a minute. There's nothing you can do about it. Or we'd be able to do something about it. There are people who want to bitch, moan, and complain and let things in their own life kind of go by the wayside when they're spending all this time and energy trying to fight something that there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. Nothing. Nothing much, that's for sure, except keep drumming things up. And the thing is, if you're fighting a family member because they're not giving you a break, understand that's still fighting. And you're not taking care of the core issue. The core issue is showing some respect for them, but for yourself. If I respect myself, I don't behave that way. And if I do behave that way, get back on track as soon as possible. Give an apology that fits their personality. Sometimes just an I'm sorry, an oops, I'm in a bad mood, I'm sorry, is enough. And sometimes somebody needs a 5-point apology. And you can Google that. But they want to know why you messed up, what you're going to do about it. They want to know that you know how it made them feel. I know. But if you can give the right apology to the person who needs that, it'll go a long way in forgiveness. Not everybody needs a 5-point apology. I love a 5-point apology. It makes me fall in love all over again. But not everybody knows how to do that. Yep. And be sincere about it. You gotta, pay attention. I'll tell you something else too. There are people who come into family counseling or individual counseling about a relationship, but it's usually already too late. People have such a high threshold, not necessarily for pain, but for trying to figure things out themselves. And sometimes people only have 2 or 3 ways that they try to make things work, because that's how they were taught. Yelling and screaming, crying, begging. That's it. A lot of people don't understand that relationship repair is kind of like the domino effect. The more you change, the more they'll change with you, or they'll fall away. Humans are interesting. They're not so hard to figure out sometimes. People just need to feel safe. And if we're consistently safe, we give the greatest opportunity for others to start to feel safe. And they'll either open up about what's going on, or what in the world should I do here? Or they'll finally, what do you call it? Shit or get off the pot. They'll finally make some movement. They'll finally figure out, I gotta take some action here. It's weird, but true. Weird, but true. Mm-hmm. Oh, where did that come from? I didn't put any face powder on today because I don't want my face to feel dry. And it's been the weather's been kind of moody. And I've been out in the sun for a couple days. And I don't want to put too much on my face that's going to dry me out. I want to give my face a chance to moisturize a little bit. Oh, I slather on that castor oil, that's for sure. So my point is, if you're going to start making changes in your personality, make it a commitment to yourself to make those changes, not necessarily to a person. Because if you make it to a person, it's easy to build resentment on them not being encouraging. I'll tell you something interesting. Very often, people will just hit my elbow. It didn't hurt at all. How about that? Very interesting is that even children will let you beat them over and over again and still love you more than anyone else on the planet. They'll still lie for you. They'll still steal for you. When an adult has had a scary childhood, they kind of go through the same thing where with you, if you're like that, where you're grouchy, bitchy, violent, whatever, it's because they grew up with that at least you were paying attention to them. What a sad way to get someone to love you and be attached to you. To think that it's okay to have someone worship, adore us, take care of us because they fear losing us. It's such a sad way to live. Or they feel stuck because their self-esteem is so low. But then when you start repairing the damages, they get scared that you're going to get such a good person, they're afraid you're going to leave them. Then they start acting out. Happens a lot in domestic violence cases that I've worked with. They'll say, you start beating on your husband? You stole his phone and broke it? You stabbed him in the neck? Whatever. And And what it boils down to is, yeah, they started getting help, but now they felt like they didn't have this overwhelming expenditure of time on telling their stories in their head about how abusive their husband was. Now it's the story completely changes, and husband, wife, whatever. Why are they acting so nice? Are they seeing someone else? Well, if they're going to be this good of a person, why would they want to be with me? What do I have to do to keep them? And then they start getting jealous, keeping track of their schedules tighter. So there's no room for no room for mistakes or slip ups. And then if you slip up and you do lose your temper on the consistent victim, then it's like, see, I knew you weren't changing. And that's hard to hear when, so it's either almost like going against the person who's in recovery from rage or alcohol or what have you, or it's fear. I mean, it can really change the dynamics. So then we just have to look at helping them recognize their commitment to their recovery. So if this person is holding true to say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean, if we can get both people communicating in a way, you don't have to sit down with a timer. I always thought that was the funniest thing. That's not a natural way. The most important thing is one person talks, the other person is actually in the room listening to the person speaking, instead of in the back of their head already thinking of plan A, B, and C, or I've got these 5 options I could say, or what did I say last time that didn't work, or this sounds just like my mother, or whatever. They have to start practicing self-soothing enough to be in the room with the person you're talking to. It's so funny how people say, I love you, I love you, I love you. And they're very seldom even in the same room, emotionally, mentally. I don't know. I'm just saying, think about it. Why miss out on this conversation? Why? Why miss out on this conversation? I mean, that's a pretty good slogan right there. So keep practicing being in the same room. I'm listening to you. I'm not thinking of options. I'm not thinking of plans. I'm looking at you. I'm looking for honesty, clarity, and information. Therefore, when you're done talking, I can say, do you have any options that you think I might be able to help with? Because I did think of a couple things. Or do you want to give me some time to think of a couple things? Or there's one alternative, and that's this. Are you willing to have me start doing this or stop doing that? See, that's very adult. Yeah. Communicating is a lot more than physically being in the same room. It's controlling the brain that wants to say, I don't want this change. I don't want to be put in a corner. I don't want to start being different. Whatever it is. It's like, if you start feeling up, calm down. Calm down. Be in the same room. And sometimes the best we can do is say, I'm not my best self today. Can we do this tomorrow? I promise. Or later today. 24 hours is a big stretch. Usually it takes 20 minutes to get out of a bad mood and get into a neutral mood if you're working on it, if you're willing. It's being willing is the big word right there. Holy cow. Just, getting the chip off your shoulder and being willing. And sometimes that means you need individual counseling to have someone help with your temper. That's one of the biggest things I work with clients. Speaking of clients, I have some paperwork to do. Have a great day. Or have a good enough day. Okay? All right. Bye for now.